conflict of our Torah. This week's parsha ends with Yosef speaking about uh, the dreams of the baker and um, the cupbearer. They come to him, they have dreams, they know that he's able to interpret dreams. He interprets the dreams that the baker in 3 days will be executed and the cupbearer will be liberated after 3 days. So that's the story of Joseph and the dreams. And then he asks the cupbearer to do him a favor. When you're with Pharaoh, remind him about me being down here. And the cupbearer gets back up, is doing his job. And by the way, there's an interesting custom. If you notice many Jews, when they make Kiddush, they hold their hand like this, put the cup in the palm. This comes from this week's Parsha, because that's how Pharaoh would hold his cup. And we asked the question, why should I know about this detail of Pharaoh, except to teach us how to hold a cup, how royalty holds a cup. So in Shabbat, we're like royalty. But the cupbearer promptly forgets about Yosef. And by the way, next week when he remembers Yosef, he mentions Yosef in a derogatory way. Basically, he says, this Hebrew slave who was in prison with me. It's like he's saying, there was this Jew boy who, helped me interpret dreams. Rashi says that even when he wants to do good, an evil person will be nasty. But the point is that Yosef was relying on him to get out of jail. He did him a big favor, and the cupbearer forgot about Yosef. This is a very important lesson for us. You make all the preparations to succeed, whether it's like the military, you train, doctors train, but in the final analysis, you have to realize that everything is in God's hands. If God wants you to succeed, you will succeed. If God, for whatever reason, feels that you should fail, you will fail. But it doesn't take away the fact that you have to try. That we have to try, we have to practice. Very famous story from Spock. In 1837, on January 1st, 1837, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there was a massive earthquake, destroyed the entire city. This happened when the Jews were davening mincha in a particular shul. The rabbi who was leading the davening had a premonition that the earthquake was going to happen. So literally a few seconds before the earthquake, he began motioning for everybody to leave the shul, leave the synagogue. And they all left. But meanwhile, he finished his Shmona Esrei. The building collapsed all around him, but the only damage was that one of the bricks fell on his arm and broke his arm. And they asked the rabbi, why did this happen? Why did there was some great miracle you survived, but why was it that your arm was broken? And he said, it's very simple. I was being sent a message from God. If you want to save people and you motion for them to get out, well and good. You did the right thing. Why did you stay? If you thought there would be a miracle, why did you tell everybody else to leave? In other words, you're hedging your bets. You don't do that. The rabbi was correct in getting everybody to leave and saving their lives. He should have left with them. Okay, you don't rely on miracles. You plan, but at the same token, you realize in the final analysis, everything is in God's hands. Something to think about.